Yep. Alright, so looking at oligosaccharide and polysaccharides compared to sugar. Sugar is the simple carbohydrate. An oligosaccharide or a polysaccharide is a polymer of sugar molecules. There are several very common oligosaccharides and polysaccharides that you probably come into contact with. You didn't know that's what they were. So this one right here is starch. And this one right here is cellulose. Both of these are polysaccharides. But if we look at starch, it has this kind of connection between the two sugar molecules where both the H's are on top. Cellulose, one H goes down and one H goes up, which gives them very different chemical properties. This is an unreactive polymer, which means it doesn't really do much chemistry once it's been made. But it's how plants can store their sugar. The other one, cellulose, is a linear polymer. That provides structure to plants. I was just talking about cellulose, I keep talking about. Alright, cellulose is flavorless. Odorless. That's too many else. And hydrophilic, which means loves water, easily dissolves in water. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Hydrophobic. This is hydrophobic. 3.5 minutes. Does not dissolve easily. That's a really big difference. Hydrophobic. Alright, cellulose is made of glucose. So each one of these molecules is a glucose, so a small sugar. Let's see. Humans don't have the ability to digest cellulose or break it down. If you are a mammal like a cow or a sheep or something, you have bacteria in your stomach, and the bacteria has the ability to break down cellulose, which is why those mammals can eat grass and get some sort of energy out of it. But humans can't. So why do we need cellulose in our diet? Well, cellulose is useful to move other foods through your intestinal tract. So the purpose of cellulose is to be a kind of like a scrub brush. Yeah, it's going to go through and like catch all the poop particles and push them all together. And when you've been eating a high fiber diet, you have very compact species, and that's its job, to keep it all together. So if you're on a high fiber diet, you'll have much more compact poop than you would be if you're on a low fiber diet. So you can think about that next time you're examining your poop. You can kind of make a judgment call whether or not you need more cellulose in your diet. All right, cellulose. Bulking agent for, see, it sounds more technical if I call it species. We're going to talk about some more poop here in a minute. Lots of poop talk. Yeah. It depends on what you mean by carb, right? And so, like, there are, like, cellulose is like eating, like, lettuce and spinach and things like that, that your body can't break it down. So, technically, yes, it is a carb, but it's a non-digestible carb. So, it's usually listed as fiber, like if you're reading the side of a thing, fiber is saying it has cellulose in some sort of way that's not digestible by you. Carbs could be glucose or sugars, right, just plain sugar. We're going to talk about high fructose corn syrup here in a minute. Or it could be starch. Your body can break down starch. Okay. And so it really just depends on what the person is intending by their meaning when they say. They're probably thinking sugar, but they're saying carbs, which is too general of a term for what they really mean.
So when we eat things that, like,
Mm-hmm.
does that become of any nutritional value to us because we can't break it down?
Mm-hmm.
So it's technically like if we're looking like get a lot of energy off of a meal, it's something we should avoid.
Not avoid it, I mean, but it depends on what your purpose of eating is, right? And so, is your purpose of eating to get a lot of energy? This is not going to provide you very much energy. Is it to feel full? This will definitely make you feel full because it takes up lots of space. If you're looking to lose weight, then if you're eating a high fiber, meaning cellulose diet, that your body can't break down, you're going to feel full, and your body just can't spend any energy to break it down, it's just going to pass it through. And so, kind of a trade-off as to what is your intention in your eating.
Obviously, like undernourished, if we eat more things like that, or
Well, I mean, it has other good things in it, like spinach has, like, you know, iron and some other stuff in it. If you ate just iceberg lettuce all the time, yeah, you'd be passed out someplace, right? Because your body needs other things, right? Because we talked about on Wednesday that your brain needs free sugar in order to survive. And so if you're force-feeding it lots of cellulose, it can't break it down. And so you're going to be lacking in sugar to do other things. Not that I'm saying Sour Patch Kids are like the backup plan. Okay, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I guess the other option is, I guess if you had like a bed of lettuce with Sour Patch Kids on top, that would maybe balance it out. Okay, all right. We'll see what happens. I'll make sure you have the safety glasses. They tend to shoot sugar. Yeah, potentially. So, all right, cellulose. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, starch. Let me back up to starch. All right, so starch. I'm backing up in my notes a little bit. I'm going to turn my page over. Feel free to keep writing. Is the red pen too glary? Should I switch colors? Okay. Alright, so starch is going to be the most common polysaccharide in your diet, assuming you have an average diet. So things that are starchy foods are like rice, potatoes, bananas, sweet potatoes, a whole bunch of other things, peas, beans, things like that. And my other piece of starch. Alright, so raw starch is almost indigestible. So if you're just gonna eat like raw uncooked rice or raw uncooked potatoes, your stomach will be very upset because your body doesn't have the ability to break down the starch. But if you cook the starch, so boil your potatoes or boil your rice or any of these things, right? Bananas are kind of an odd thing. They have a lot of other things going on with it. But all these other things, if you cook them, right, boil them in some way, the starch becomes easier to break apart in your body. And starch is also often used as a thickening agent. Right, so what's the thickening agent? Everybody should be something starch. Yeah, like cornstarch. So corn's another starchy food that they can extract the starch from, turn into a powdered form. Right, when you're making your gravy and you add your cornstarch to it and it thickens it up, it's because it's forming, it's a thicker form of itself, and so it's grabbing those other molecules and going from a liquid to kind of a more gelatinous form of itself. You know, if you add too much, when your gravy turns actually to gelatin. Alright. Two other sugars or polysaccharides that I don't have a picture of. One is raffinose. Raffinose is a trisaccharide, so how many sugars is in raffinose? 3. The 3 are glucose, fructose, which we've talked a lot about, glucose and fructose, and the third one, lactose. So glucose and fructose are almost identical, but glucose is a 6-membered ring and fructose is a 5-membered ring. And galactose is similar in that it is a 6-membered ring. It has a slightly different shape to it. This is a sugar found in beans, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. So if you're thinking of all these foods, they all have a very similar property. I think you meant delicious. They're delicious, but they can do damage to your intestinal system also, because your body doesn't have the ability to break down raffinose. Can't do it. So, raffinose passes down to your intestines undigested, but the bacteria that live in your lower intestines love raffinose. And they're going to break it apart and make some carbon dioxide and some other byproducts that are in the sulfur family. So you will be very flatulent if you eat a lot of these food groups. So the bacteria in your intestines but it's going to produce, let's see, carbon dioxide. That one's carbon dioxide, CO2. It's also going to make some methane gas, CH4, the ones that cows produce if you've ever been in a dairy barn. That one. And just some straight up hydrogen gas. So super flatulently, right? So carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen. So, who has watched the commercial about Beano? Right, no Beano gas. So, Beano, all it does is it contains the enzyme that can break this down in your stomach. So it breaks it down before it gets to your intestine, and so it doesn't make any of these byproducts. So, Beano just is an enzyme that has the ability that your body doesn't have to break it down. So that it's broken down before it gets to your intestines. So you don't have any side effects from eating your heavy Brussels sprout diet. Is it good for you? I mean, it's not bad for you. Yeah. You probably shouldn't be eating such a huge diet of beans, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli that you need it, but some people, their intestines are very sensitive, and so if you are having a huge issue with eating these things, then it won't be bad in minor amounts, I think. If you're going to eat a big Brussels sprout lunch before you go to a meeting, you may choose to have a little Beano just to even things out before you get to your important meeting. Depends on how your body reacts to it. Alright, so one last sugar I want to talk about before we get to proteins. I'm going to get like a binder or a notebook or something. Sorry. I realized I should have left everybody much more space on their notes page. High fructose corn syrup. Alright, so any guess on what sugar is contained in high fructose corn syrup? Fructose! Excellent guess. It has a little bit of glucose too. Right, so these again are very similar to each other. Glucose and fructose have the same number of carbons, just one is stuck in a 6-membered ring and the other one has a 5-membered ring with an extra little branch hanging off of it. The primary sweetener in most foods and beverages in the U.S. fructose corn syrup doesn't break down as quickly, so your food product can sit on the shelf longer. Sugar in the U.S., like raw sugar, is very expensive for reasons I don't economic reasons I don't completely understand. Raw sugar in the U.S. is much more expensive than it is in other countries. For us, this high fructose corn syrup is super, super cheap. And so I think it's a combination of shelf stability and just cost. If this is the cheaper option and it tastes the same, which it does, they're good. Well, in general. Yeah.
I don't know, there's actually no Netflix on it. It's not how they make the fake t-shirt
Maybe there's some of that to it. I mean, chemically,
it's a good
they're identical. Chemically, I don't know what else it could be, but. Part of it is depending on the ratio of fructose to glucose. It could taste sweeter. So like kind of how Splenda tastes sweeter than regular sugar. High fructose corn syrup can trick your body to think it's sweeter than regular sugar, which may be part of that addictiveness. I know things that are really, really sweet your body wants more of. Does anyone know what plant most of the sugar in the U.S. comes from? No, not corn. What plant most of our sugar comes from in the U.S.? Beets. That's the winner. Beets. Most of the sugar in the U.S. comes from sugar beets. So, you guys have never been to North Dakota probably. No. Huge sugar beet plants. However, they smell, so have you ever been near a paper mill?
Yeah.
When it's kind of doing its thing? Yeah. Okay, it's worse near the sugar beet factory. It somehow smells, most people describe it as like dirty diaper smell, somewhere in that range. It's just a very unique smell that's awful. But it makes sugar, so it's a trade-off, right? I can put up with the smell as long as I know they're doing their job and making me some sugar. So, I suppose, and as long as I don't have to live real close to it. Let's see. Okay, so now I lost my train of thought. Yeah, here we go. Alright, so first it's produced by grinding corn to make cornstarch, like we had in our previous step. So it starts off with just as starch. Alright, which is all glucose. Starch is just a big old long chain of glucoses. But we're obviously not there yet, right? Because it's high fructose corn syrup, so we gotta do something. So you add some enzymes. They're normally found in your body. These are very, like if you were eating glucose, you have these enzymes in your body that convert glucose to fructose. Your body does that naturally. And at this point, if you stopped right here, it would be 42% fructose. Which this percentage is used in cereal and baked goods then, 42%. Alright, you could let these enzymes go longer and do more work, and you could get up to 90%. fructose. But that's not in most commercial foods. That's pretty uncommon. I don't think I wrote down an example. No, I'll have to look it up. I'll make a little note and I'll look one up. I'll have an example on. Maybe in lab. Maybe it could. Yeah, it may be because it's so thick that it may be in certain applications. Like, I'll find out one by lab. Make myself a little note. Oh, you know what the other question I want to find out is when you buy. So I'm also going to look up, because I forgot to look up, when you buy regular corn syrup, what percentage of fructose that is. So I'll look those things up so you guys in lab. So high fructose corn syrup is chemically just like your regular sugars, right? Because it's all glucose when it starts off, and it converts it to almost 50-50, one to the other. Honey is very similar to high fructose corn syrup. There's not a specific subcategory, but honey is really 55% glucose, or fructose, 55% fructose, which is actually more fructose than what they use in a lot of your high fructose corn syrup products. And in general, our body can't really tell the difference between using honey and using this. Some people are saying they're using honey because it's more organic. I mean, it's kind of the same. Your body doesn't recognize the difference. The bee is using the same chemical process that the industry is to get the glucose into the fructose. Just depends on if you think the bee is a more natural way of doing it, even though honey is really just bee vomit. So, yes, that's a more natural way, I guess, compared to doing it in a big chemical plant. But I don't think so. If you look back to see who said that, there were people who were really invested in these other sugar companies. So people who really want regular sugar or honey to be the number one sweetener in the U.S. would be anti-high fructose corn syrup. So far as been proven, like, there is no difference in your body digesting one or the other. They are sweeter, and so in some ways it tricks your body into wanting more, but chemically they're identical. So Coke has a lot of other side effects. If you wanted to just drink high fructose corn syrup, that'd be one thing. Your body would then be starving for some cellulose, and you'd be super impacted. So I would not do that.
Yeah, I was always told your body won't break it down.
I mean,
Stays in your body. That's probably a myth.
it is a myth. Yeah, your body can totally break down fructose. And in fact, when you eat a sugar molecule, you eat a glucose, it's the very first step is to change it to fructose. Very first thing along the sugar pathway, glucose, fructose, and then does some other things. So if you bypass it and just put fructose in, your body's like, no problem, come right in, we can sort this out. So in some ways, you're saving your body a little bit of work. Skip that step. Now, yeah, I'd say it is one of the things when we hear about like what is good for you and what is bad for you, you kind of have to see who is telling you what is good for you and what is bad for you, and then what is it that they're telling you is bad, and why would they just always have an economic interest in the opposite product that they are selling you. Because you don't often hear like, no, eat more broccoli over Brussels sprouts. Like, it's never the vegetable industry that's excited one way or the other. It's these other companies that have a much larger market share. I talked about sugar way longer than I thought I was going to. Okay, I'll give you guys an option. You can either take the quiz now and start proteins on Wednesday, or take the quiz on Wednesday and start proteins now. I'll let you guys think about it. If you want to take the quiz today, show of hands. Show of hands? Okay, about half. Alright, quiz Wednesday. 1, 2. Alright, so quiz today wins.
Wait, does that mean
So bad.
the homework's all